Welcome to another episode of Drive with Dom. Today we are at Xtreme Zone in Delaware. We just had a race there. I really like Xtreme Zone. It's one of my favorite places. It's kind of unique in that, well, it's not unique, but it's rare in that it is indoors gas carts. Most everything is electric these days, and it is really, really, really nice to drive gas carts. This is a really fun track that I've raced at quite a bit now. It has a fast outside that feeds into a technical inside section that really rewards good car placement and not overdriving. I've got footage here from the race this past weekend, and within it, my fastest lap. So I thought we would watch a few laps. I would give you guys an idea of what I'm paying attention to and how I'm going about doing things. And hopefully we can both learn something. Anyway, let us pause for a moment. All right, so we're going to begin a little bit before the final turn. So here we've just come out of the closing bit of the technical inside section, which is spitting us out onto what turns into the start-finish straight. So this corner up ahead of me is technically the last corner, and you'll see that the start-finish line is right on it. So this one, you're obviously going to have the cart close to it pretty much every time. You're going to be putting your cart against this particular apex and then letting the cart run out, since you are full throttle, out towards the wall over here. The first turn really isn't much of a turn at all. It's a fast sweeper left. You want to be flat through here. You also want to get the cart reasonably close to it. You don't have to be right on it. And you're going to carry a lot of speed, keep going flat, and you're going to let the cart run out towards the right-hand side of the track, sort of like the fellow up ahead of me is. However, in this particular corner, I do not use brake. What I'm doing is staying in throttle as long as I possibly can. And sort of more or less right as I'm turning in, I will be taking a little bit of throttle off. I won't be going to zero, but I will, be taking some throttle off. And this will help the cart rotate, and the engine braking and the turn itself will slow the cart down enough to get me to the apex at the bottom, which is very, very important. Boom. This particular apex you have to clip, and you need to be as vertical as you can be coming through this, meaning I don't want to be pushed right and put in the shadow of the upcoming corner. I want to be able to have the cart come out again midway, and I'm going to jog it a little bit left even from there. And I have to get the cart down to this next apex. In fact, I kind of want to hug the periphery of the wall, because it's really important to, again, not wash wide. You want to come out about middle track so that you can hustle it back over to the right here and then get going on this next turn. On the next turn here, you're going to pretty much ignore the first apex, and again, you want to get the cart vertical up through this apex where you have to hug it once again. So again, I'm trying to make sure that I'm not in the shadow of the upcoming right. I want to have the cart give it some space on the left, turn in. Now this is the middle of the technical section, and basically there's two apexes here that you're going to link together in one big swooping turn. You can either sort of let the cart run wide to the left, or kind of 3/4 track. It's up to you. But you're going to bounce off this apex. And then, very importantly, you must get close to this apex to be able to hold the right-hand side to open up the next turn, because the next turn is where you start effectively your full speed run all the way back to that first fast turn. So as you can see here, I am bringing the cart down to this apex. I'm trying to get it as vertical as I can so that I can hug this right side, not get pushed left. And then once again, I have to rapidly turn in. I get the first apex here, but not the second. Clip, and then you let the cart run out here. And we're off. Okay, so that was the fastest lap of the day for me, which was a 22.508. Let's watch it again in slow motion. All right, so coming out onto the straight, letting it sort of run down the right wall. By the way, you can use this as a passing zone, getting under people at this upcoming apex. Remember, the important thing here is flat through this. You must be flat. You must let the cart run out here. Then let's see if we can identify where I'm starting to take some speed off. Pretty much. All right. Let's see if the feet tell us anything. Looks like I'm turning in, and you can see my feet are starting to work it. Okay. So right here, I've turned the cart, and I've also started to lift a little bit. And you can see the back of the cart actually comes around a little in rotation. And you can see here, I'm back into throttle fully. So let's watch that uninterrupted. All right. So it's really important to hold that throttle as long as you can. And then I do a little bit of lift, turn the cart in, let it rotate, and then get back into gas. Now, it's really important here. The first apex here is missable. Like this, you don't have to clip. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But what matters is getting your butt around. So I'd rather go in a little deeper to make sure that I can be nice and vertical here. I want to be tight to this apex, and then I want to get my cart up and through this without getting pushed to the right at all. I do not want to be in the shadow of this particular corner, kind of right where 7 is, or the next corner. I want to have the ability to approach it from the left without being constricted. So I'm going to keep it going left here, and then bam, I have to turn in. And I have to turn in earlier than you'd think here. And what I want to have happen here is I want my inside of the cart on the right to basically be on the wall for this particular apex. I want to be hugging this because I really need to keep the cart from running wide here. I want to get it back down no more than sort of halfway here. I will then have to jog it a little bit back to the right, and then once again, turn it in and absolutely make sure I nail this apex. Again, getting it through there as vertically as possible so that I have a good angle to run through here. This is approaching the end of the technical section. This is essentially two apexes that are connected by a swooping turn. So you bounce off of this apex, let the cart run out wider, so that you can then get a very vertical attack onto this apex, which you need so that you can hold the right side to open up the left turn that opens up to the start-finish straight. So you can see here, I'm even, I want to be even more than mid-track. I want to be as right as I can. And then here, I've got just enough space to get down and clip this apex. And we're full throttle, obviously, running all the way out. And then through the start-finish. So if we go back to the beginning of this, I'd like to sort of explain, if I can, what's going on with my right foot. So we're flat all through this. Flat, flat, flat. We are flat through this. And then here, we are lifting a little. The cart is turning. But then here, we're definitely back to full. There might be some modulation in between the turn in and here. Sometimes I might even add a little bit of gas back in if I overslowed. But generally speaking, you're using throttle modulation to get around these corners. Here, again, I'm turning in, and here I may also need to take off a little bit of speed in order to really hold this tightly and not bounce wide. You might have to just back off of throttle just for like a split second as you're doing your turn into this particular one. Here also, you may have to modulate throttle a little, but not very much. Here you're going to be full, 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 and maybe you have to modulate some here in order to keep it tight. But that's, I think, the most important thing here is you cannot overdrive the inside section. If you run wide, you get in the shadow of the next corner, and you're then out of position, and then you're screwed. You want to make sure that you are always gripped up, always, always sort of maximizing what you can get out of the tire without sliding. And that is going to require you to sometimes reduce throttle a little bit. The important thing is to reduce throttle before you're in the turn, if possible, as opposed to in the turn, because you want to be back to throttle early always. And here, you're full. Full, 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 full. So let's go back and watch it in full speed, which I believe is back here. Full throttle, little lift, back in, lift, hug it in, little. If you listen to the tire, you'll see that it's not very loud. We're trying to not get excessive tire squeal as we make these rapid little turns. So right about here, I might have to take off a little bit of gas just for a fraction of a second so that I can get the cart turned down and onto this and not run wide here. Similarly, right before this turn in, maybe I go from 100 to 95 or 90% throttle, something like that. But then right back in. And then through here, you're always back to full. And then here, you're full. And here I'm full. I might do maybe there's a little rotational slight lift here to bring it over. But then we are running full speed. So let's watch it one more time in slow-mo. So play with the width there. You can get the first apex if you want, but I don't think it's necessary. But this one's critical. Turn in earlier than you think, hold it tighter. Maybe you have to take a little off here in order to be back on here. Maybe a little here in order to be back on here. Maybe you're taking a little off here in order to turn it over here. But they're very subtle, small changes in throttle, and your objective is to have quiet tires and really good grip. You do not want to be sliding. So anyway, that's that's Xtreme Zone. Like I said, this is one of my favorite tracks, and there's not too many places where you can still use gas carts indoors. This is one of them. I strongly recommend it. Also, it's a pretty good deal. I think a 5-pack of sessions is like $90. And the sessions are, good length. I think like 8 or 9 minutes. I think I get like 21, 22 laps per session. Good lap times here these days are in the 22s. So, we ran from, I would say 22.1 to anywhere in the 22s was good. But let's say, you want to shoot for mid-22s. This is a 22.5 for me today. Some of the carts are a little bit better than others, but in general, the fleet here is really good. Oh, that was interesting here. Let's go back and take a look at this. Watch how I dump speed here in order to hold this one tightly. Boom. That's what I mean about holding that turn tightly. That allows you to have tons of space to make this next turn. Boom. Nice vertical line through it. Bounce. A little fast through there. You can see that I scrubbed a little speed here. So, if I had to do that over again, you would take off just a touch of throttle right about here so that you wouldn't slide. Off you go. It's also a pretty interesting track to race because it's tight, but it's not crazy tight. And you definitely can pass here, but you can have really, really long battles trying to get by people. It's an excellent track, though, and I really, really recommend it. So anyway, I hope this is useful to you. Sometimes we get to do reverse, but this is what forwards looks like. And, ignore previous laps that you might have seen that were either in the 20s or 21s. Matt has been adjusting the track layout over time, and it's gotten slower, better, but a little bit slower. And we're running in the 22s now. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you next time.